What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. We're back here once again, and you already know what time it is. It's time to bust that rhyme about that slime, that grit, and that grime. Engine number 9 going down the East Coast line. You already know what the time it is when you see me in front of your TV. There are one thing is for certain, and 3 things are for sure. Number 1, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number 2, we came to give you stats and not none of that static. And number 3, perhaps the most important of them all, number 3, you want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. You may be asking yourself, how, Don, how, Mr. P, does one keep the Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's very simple. I'll tell you. It's easy. I'm not going to keep it from you. You must smash like button, subscribe, share with your peoples. Once you've shared with your peoples, because indeed, sharing is caring. You've indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic. And since we're talking about sharing with your people and caring about your people, once you bring them to the stream, you got to tell them to look over yonder. You say, look at here. The stream got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lambs, rams, hogs, dogs, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken. You name beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, beans, beans. You name it. You name it. We got all the shoes. We got all the news. We got all the drinks. We got all the brews. We got all the slays. We got all the slews. We got all the whats. We got all the who's. You know what it is. What up, though, everybody in the chat? What up, though, to the people who are lurking, who are smirking, who are twerking, who are working, lurking, smirking, working, twerking, lurking, smirking, working, twerking. Nah. You already know what it is. But if you're doing that one thing that's freaky, I don't want to know about it. Keep it to yourself, like Karen and her bland ass potato salad. Now, if you're doing that other thing that's illegal, I don't want to know about it because I don't want to be a witness at your trial. I just don't want to be a witness. Ain't nobody got time for that. As a matter of fact, Les Sweet Brown said, ain't nobody got time for that. That's right. Ain't nobody got time for that, Sweet. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got no time for that. Ain't nobody got no time for what you do. Ain't nobody. Okay. What up, though, Pierce Sargent? What up, though, Irv Gotti? What up, though, Robert Stevens? What up, though, to everyone else who will be in here a little bit later, and we know who they are, and we know what they do. All right, let me get your stuff on the screen. Sit down so we can say bye-bye, Mr. DDI. From the injuries to the headaches, the patience is dry. Bye-bye, Mr. DDI. From the injuries to the headaches, the patience is dry. He left his home looking like he would cry, saying this will be the day that I hit the IR. This will be the day that I hit the IR. Okay. But now we have TDI, turning definitely injured. Funny. I said that you would call him that. I said that you would call him that once I saw the guy's injury history. I said, we got DDI. Shout out my man, Pierce Sargent. And we should call this dude TDI. So, yes, shout out to you. Bra Ignatius signed his clone. He did, in fact, and indeed do that BS. What up, though, Zach J? What up, though, Irv Gotti? What up, though, Robert Stevens? Said you do the bean thing before my dinner. Well, I'm glad I can get you prepared to eat, my brother. I'm glad I can get you prepared to eat. It's legal here in Arizona. What, beans? Brittle Bones Brad at it again. Brittle Bones Brad back at it. That should be his rap name. It's Brittle Bones. I got one. Brittle Bones Brad back at it. Came to give you stats and a bunch of static. Yeah, I'm illmatic. It's automatic that I'm gonna sign somebody who can't get through a tragic. I'll be here all week. What up, though, Zach J? Don, I was on vacation during that signing, so I didn't want to crash out. Well, we did some crashing. We did some crashing over here. Not too much, just the right amount. Just the right amount of crashing. BBB Holmes, Triple B's. It's your boy, Brittle Bones, Brad, Triple B's. We got the lads, we on the lamb. Yeah, we missing Free agency. Yeah, we've been missing. And that's funny because we got to talk about free agency today. We're going to talk about, because everybody's doing it today. So I was like, why not? Why not? Why not Motor City Cats do it? You know what I'm saying? Why not Motor City Cats do it? And we'll put our own little spin on it. We'll make it fresh. We make it fresh. We make it fresh. All right. Hashtag if you know, use the hashtag. All right. So let me get this in here. And we're gonna see what we do here. Yeah, we're gonna split the screen because I got something that I made for y'all. You know how I do it. All right. Okie dokie. So we're going to go through a comprehensive deep dive review of the Detroit Lions 2026 free agency moves, right? And we're going to give grades. And I'm going to ask you guys about the grades. It's going to be really, really interactive. All right. I'm not going to have my co-hosts with me for probably a couple weeks. The show, Syndicats 365, is going to go on hiatus if there, and it's a couple weeks. We got 1 second. Yeah, so we got lives. You know what I'm saying? And so we got some things to take care of. Some of us, not all of us, one of us, not all of us, two of us, not all of us, whatever it is. I'm not gonna get too much into it, but we will be back probably about 2 weeks. So around April 6th. And I will keep you guys updated and posted if there's going to be any changes as far as maybe the date moves up or something like that. So, but I'm going to need my audience today and we will get into it. So everybody's here. Make sure you chime in. I will give grades. I will give reasons. And then you tell me if you agree with those grades and you give me your reasons and we'll put them up here on the screen. Turner is a cheap camp body competing for a roster spot. Why make it such a big deal? Why make such a big deal over it? Chris Noll, are you a Detroit Lions fan? Have you seen the last 2 years with Marcus Davenport? This is what Brad Holmes does. Have you seen the Emmanuel Moseley situation? This is what Brad Holmes does, right? Have you seen it? Sometimes it works out. DJ Reader did well, right? But the vast majority of the time, it doesn't. Marcus Davenport, Emmanuel Moseley, Ennis Rakestraw, so on and so forth. It's a pattern that we're tired of. That's why we're making a big deal out of it, not because it's just some random guy, right? If this was Howie Roseman doing it, and it's not his pattern to do so, just taking a flyer, a cheap, okay, we'll see if he can make the team. If this was Les Snead doing it, and it's not his thing to do this, okay, just a cheap dude, just a flyer. We'll see if he can make the team out of camp. We'll see if he can actually stay healthy, right? Their fan bases wouldn't bat an eye. And the reason their fan bases wouldn't bat an eye, because they've won Super Bowls, right? And we just came off of a 2-year stint of a guy in Marcus Davenport who they put entirely too much stock and faith in. Entirely too much. He was penciled in as the starter opposite Aiden Hutchinson, a guy that couldn't stay healthy, a guy whose injury history told you that he couldn't stay healthy, a guy whose injury history scared off probably 31 other teams. But you went on ahead and did it. and you got the results that everyone, well, not everyone, the Slappies didn't expect this. The Slappies were clutching their pearls. Marcus Davenport is injured. I didn't see this coming. I saw it coming. I saw it coming from the very moment that we signed the dude. So instead of, because, you know, the fan base would have revolted if Brad Holmes would have re-signed Marcus Davenport for a third time. So instead of doing that, you went on ahead and you signed his clone. You signed his uncle. You signed a guy who played less than he did. Right? How is it his uncle? Well, Marcus Davenport's parents are old and they decided to have a child, right? Or Marcus Davenport's grandparents had a child, you know, in their older age, and that was Peyton Turner. So Peyton Turner came out, you know, as a baby with a nephew. He was already an uncle. See how that works? Okay. You know, that's how it works. All right. So, and then why leave? Why leave after you ask a question? All right. What up, though, One Republic? What? Lions have signed more free agents than anyone else? That's crazy talk. Hit the like button for sure, for sure, for sure. Said I blame Mike. Don't blame Mike. We could have spent that money on keeping Muhammad or Anzalone. We could have done that. Stay healthy, please. Signings. That's what we do. We make a big deal about it because Melvin keeps doing the same ish and expecting different results. And that is insanity. Now you know, knowing is half the battle. Exports and imports looks the same game. That's why we be tripping. Exactly. I blame Ron. Me too. Ron is the problem. All right. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, let's pull that up. Keep your comments coming, and we will go ahead and read this out. All right, so part one, we have the departures and the cap casualties. The theme of the offseason was financial discipline. Holmes drew a hard line in the sand, leading to the exit of several staples of the Dan Campbell era. Taylor Decker, released, grade D. Do you agree with a D? The breakdown, Decker requested his release after contract talks broke down, ending a massive era in Detroit while avoiding a massive legacy contract makes financial sense. Releasing a cornerstone left tackle creates a glaring immediate void on the offensive line. How much of a disconnect is there between Dan Campbell's loyalty to his veterans and Brad Holmes' cutthroat salary cap management? What do you guys think? Do you think that was a D? It's a good grade, a bad grade? Is it too harsh? Is it too lenient? What do you think about a D for Taylor Decker's release? Right? And as we said, how much of a disconnect is there between Dan Campbell's loyalty to his veterans and Brad Holmes' cutthroat salary cap management? And obviously that goes into the disagreement that Mike Valenti talked about, and that was all the news last week. Right? Remember that guy that I said I got into it with on Twitter, and he's on some sports show or some sports network in Detroit. Well, I'm not going to say who he is because I'm not going to do what he does. But all he seems to do on his page is to highlight people he doesn't agree with and just say that they've done no research or that they're ignorant or whatever. Like, he just puts out hit pieces on people. That's all he does. Right? There was a what's his name? Jason Canetti. Hold on, let me get the exact person here.
Slaw pick, and I like him.
All right, what's this dude's name? Castellani. Okay. Castellani was talking about, the Tesla pick, and then he was talking about how he doesn't know if it makes a whole lot of sense because of Gru Pretzel's background and all these other things. Look, I don't know myself why people are latching on to the 13 personnel situation. I know why they're latching on to the 13 personnel situation, and it's because that's what he did last year or the last 2 years in Arizona. But he's also told you himself that that's what he had to do. He did that because he had a bunch of tight ends, right? I mean, the wide receiver that they did get in Marvin Harrison Jr., him and Kyler Murray, for whatever reason, couldn't get on the same page. Marvin Harrison wasn't having the type of season that he was supposed to be having, when he came out. Maybe that's why you should steer clear of those oh hell no state guys. But then you got Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then I can't really say nothing. But Marvin Harrison Jr. was supposed to be the second coming of everybody. T.O., Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss. He was Marvin Harrison, just bigger, right? And it didn't work out. You had James Conner, who was, consistently injured. So, I mean, outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., what big play receivers did they roster in Arizona? Right? So that gives credence to what he has said. He doesn't come with a system. He does things regarding the players that he has. He does things regarding how the roster is constructed. If the roster gives me lemons, I'll make you lemonade. If the roster gives me apples, I'll make you apple juice or apple cider or applesauce or stewed apples or candied apples. You see all I can do with apples? You see that? You see how you can't really do too much with lemons, but you can do a whole bunch with apples, right? So while I think that the 13 personnel thing is overblown, yes, he ran 13 personnel 28% of the snaps. I mean, 28% is not a huge number, but I guess it's larger than the rest of the people that were in the league. But it's still not a huge number. 28% of offensive snaps, you're on 13 personnel. That means 72% of the time you're not. And 72% of the time is a vastly larger number than 28%. That's just me. But I'm not, putting out hit pieces on people. I'm not telling you, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't done any research. Blah, 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 blah. So, I guess, people got to do what they got to do to get famous on Twitter. All right, let me get to your Irv Gotti says, bro, I have an idea to create and sell t-shirts that read 6-11 season for 2026. You might get rich off of it. Brad is drafting for his job. I don't know. Like, look, if it's me, if I'm drafting for my job, I'm also putting myself in a position where I can afford to swing for the fences. And I can afford to get extraordinary pieces. You're in pick 17 and pick number 50. That's all you got on day 1 and 2. You've got 2 picks on the 2 days. Now, it makes sense to have one pick on day one because it's only round one. But on day two, you've got rounds 2 and 3. You should at least have 2 picks. But because of the TeSlaa trade, right, which was the basis of what Castellani was talking about, you now have no third round pick. Like, I don't understand how people try to defend the TeSlaa pick. Nobody has to say that TeSlaa is a bad player. Nobody has to say that TeSlaa doesn't have, like, you know, crazy hands or whatever the case may be. The question is, did you need that? That's the question. Okay, you were moving on from Kalif Raymond. You can't tell me. You cannot tell me. You cannot, and I refuse to believe. And again, I right now, after the Broderick Martin debacle and rewatching that situation on Inside the Den, shout out Mr. Morale 313, shout out Syndicates 365. I have much less faith in the brain trust that is Brad Campbell. I have much less faith in the brain trust that is Brad Campbell. And to that guy who said, oh, yeah, people disagree, duh, blah, 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 blah. The same dude that's putting out hit pieces on people. Yep, that's why it was news. Because even with Broderick Martin, they were lockstep. Yeah, so if someone comes out and says 2 people that really, like, visually, there's proof and evidence that these 2 men agreed on Broderick Martin, had such conviction about Broderick Martin. Those guys having a disagreement is mind-blowing and earth-shattering. So that's why you can't defend the TeSlaa pick, because you're not telling me, you can't convince me that anybody thought that because we were not going to re-sign Kalif Raymond, and that may have been a Brad Holmes thing and not a Dan Campbell thing. And maybe this, what we talked about, what we mentioned about Taylor Decker, the release of the veterans, the trusted, the beloved veterans to Dan Campbell, are those the fissures and the cracks that we've been talking about? Are those the disagreements? The roster construction disagreements, if we want to talk about the source of those, the easiest speculation is about the veterans, because you know he loves Deck, he loves Leaf, he loves all his veterans. Hell, he calls the practice squad the vet squad, and we know that's not a vet squad. That is a squad full of practice players who practice football professionally. What are we talking about? We talking about practice. We talking about practice. So you can't tell me that that pick was made because Brad Holmes knew that they were moving on from Kalif Raymond. What is Kalif Raymond's offensive output every year? 200 yards, maybe 200 yards. I'm sure we could we could go into the weeds, in the minutia. We could deep dive Kalif Raymond's offensive contributions, but they're not much. Not the type of contributions that you had to give up 3 third-round picks to get. So if you're drafting for your job, you don't make that move last year, handicap yourself this year because you didn't make the playoffs, and now the pressure's on. But oh wait, now you've got to make some other moves to get back into the 3rd round. I'm pretty sure you will. You don't just sit out the 3rd round. That doesn't make sense. So even if he's got to take from next year's crop of 3rd round picks or next year's crop of 4th round picks, maybe he's got to trade. He's got 2 4th rounders. Maybe he's got to trade 3 to get into the 3rd round. Maybe he's got to trade 1 4th rounder and 2 5ths. Maybe he's got to trade 2 4th rounders and 1 5th. Who knows? but he's going to have to make some trades to get up into the third round. So I don't know if drafting for your job is really accurate with this situation. C minus says Robert Stevens. Zach just says I'm gonna be like 80 years old. Talking about remember when we went 15-2. That would suck. Irv Gotti says I would say D minus. Move Sewell to left tackle. We still have another hole then. This creates another hole. Just, what up though, just a fan? Give you hope for the Lions 2026? I mean, they'll probably make the playoffs. You have an easy schedule. You have a new offensive coordinator who cannot be worse than Johnny Morton. That's not possible. That is not possible. Johnny Morton is worse. He was worse than Joe Lombardi. Let that sink in. Johnny Morton was worse than Joe Lombardi. Make me apple crisp, done. Caramel apple, done. You see what I'm saying? All the Dutch apple pie, also a la mode. Yeah. Robert Stevens says C minus. Decker is definitely on the decline of his career, and NFL teams don't pay for what you've done. Well, those are facts. Those are facts. The thing that I don't like about the Decker move, and I'll get your stuff before I say anything else. Decker needed to take a major pay hit and wasn't about it. He's not even close to what he used to be. Bad shoulder, high hips, equaling to slower feet. And he was going to get cooked by Parsons twice. Well, no, he was going to get cooked by Parsons once because Parsons ain't playing twice. Not to my knowledge, no. Not to my knowledge. What up, though? And Dennis Askew. Broderick ate for free. Of course, Mr. Detroit City chimes in. He says Melvin fails at life. Martin was picked up 3 times. He was on 4 different teams last year. After we released him, the last team he was on was the Raiders. He was on the Chiefs. I don't remember the other team. Maybe the Bucks. I feel like it was the Buccaneers that picked him up, but not 100% sure. I don't even see them doing trades. Well, you mean trades of people or trades for picks? Because you got to trade for picks. Let's call the Tesla pick what it is. It's the look at me, I'm going to draft the next Puka pick. Facts. The MCDP chance. The MVP chance. Envy me. I'm Raps MVP and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me. Hashtag if you know, use the hashtag. I can see trades during the season more than I can before the draft. Oh, okay. I feel what you're saying. Avondale alumni John Morton. Oh, goodness. Hookers on 8 Mile. Which hooker are you talking about? Mark went to KC, then Steelers. Okay, Steelers and Raiders. That's right. That's right. All right. So Taylor Decker, y'all saying D was a little bit too harsh. We're giving it C's and C minuses. Okay. All right. The next move is running back David Montgomery, traded to the Texans. Now, this I didn't do these grades. Okay. I let my assistant do the grades. And I'm gonna tell you, I do not agree with this grade. This grade says A minus. The breakdown: traded to Houston for IOL Juice Scruggs, a 2026 fourth round pick, number 128, and a 2027 seventh round pick. I will give the trade an A minus. I will give the trade not even an A minus. I'll give the trade an A plus. What you got back from what we could call aging. I mean, he's not even yet 30. I think he'll be 30 next season. He might be 28. Is he 28 or 29? But he's getting closer to 30, and you know how the NFL devalues 30-year-old running backs, even though there's a lot of evidence to show you that once you get over 30 as a running back, you can still go. I mean, look at Derrick Henry. Look at Adrian Peterson. I mean, the wheels fell off of him. He was like 35. So the trade package, the quote unquote haul that you received, yes, I think that's an A plus. The getting rid of Monty was a problem. Okay. But the ripple effect was even bigger, because if you got rid of Monty because you wanted to showcase Jahmyr Gibbs, you signed a cheaper, not a cheaper version, but you signed a cheaper running back in Isaiah Pacheco. Monty's, I think, getting $16 million over the next 2 years or something, or $13 million, something like that. And Pacheco signed for $1.8 million. Cool. The plans for Pacheco are not the plans for Monty. I mean, people are coming up with nicknames and Sonic and Taz. No, it's just the electrician. The electrician, baby. Jahmyr Gibbs, the electrician, back in action. Ooh, honey, boo boo, back in business, better than ever. Ooh. Okay. He's back in action. He's the number one. He's the featured back. Now, the fact that you wanted to feature Jahmyr Gibbs has other implications. We saw what he did behind that depleted offensive line when he was getting hit in the backfield all the time. We saw him have 3 games in which the total scrimmage yards was 65 yards. We saw all of that happen. This line has to now be fixed. Because if you can't make holes for Jahmyr Gibbs, he's not the big bruising back who's going to break tackles in the backfield and all this other stuff, right? So now you've got to dump extra resources into your offensive line. Now you've got to dump extra resources into your offensive line so that they can open up holes in the run game, and definitely so that they can pass protect, especially in the interior of your offensive line, especially up the middle, because that's where Jared Goff cannot handle pressure. So once you tell me, okay, now we've got to do that, we've got Tate Ratledge, who we think is going to be better as a rookie. Cade Mays, absolutely an upgrade over Graham Glasgow, but that wasn't hard. We'll see what happens there. And on the other side, you've got this big gaping hole where you're talking to me about Juice Scruggs. You're talking to me about Christian Mahogany. You're talking to me about Miles Frazier. The only thing that we can hope in that situation is that Miles Frazier is that dude that they say he is and who he was at LSU. And for whatever reason, he was available to us in the 5th round. We've got to hope that he is the dude from LSU. Because I've got no confidence in Christian Mahogany and Juice Scruggs. Juice Scruggs was traded away by the Houston Texans, who have among the worst offensive lines in the NFL. And you are an interior offensive lineman from the Houston Texans, and you were traded away. But then that doesn't really mean too much because they traded away Laramie Tunsil. So it really doesn't mean too much. Laramie Tunsil will probably be a Hall of Fame offensive tackle when everything is all said and done. And the Texans traded him away. So maybe they just don't want to protect CJ Stroud. Who knows? But then Monty wanting to get traded to Houston was kind of strange because they don't have an offensive line, which is crazy. As a running back, a former running back myself, I want to go somewhere with an offensive line. Makes my job easier. I don't have to get hit 3 yards in the backfield every time I get the football. I can get through the whole 3 yards down the field and then get hit and break a tackle and do whatever I needed to do. So this was a masterclass in asset management. Holes got a respectable haul for an aging running back while clearing the financial runway to eventually pay Jahmyr Gibbs top of the market money. Okay. So that's the one thing I didn't mention was paying Jahmyr Gibbs top of the market money. I mean, I guess any penny that you can save when you're trying to pay a running back 20 plus million a year, which is what we envision Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get. Right. All right. Let me see what y'all got on the Monty. I'm still salty about Knuckles. I feel you. For RB, yeah. A solid trade. Every so often, Brad slings a move. It was a solid trade. Monty got fussy. Gibbs MVP. Must have been multiple teams wanting him because we all were a bit shocked at what we got for him. That's facts. Facts, not fiction. Goff doesn't need pass protection. He's fast AF. Boy. What up, though? Tactical Sport. Goff runs slower than any white boy ever. Scruggs' profile says he likes to hang out the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holla at GMs. No, Scruggs. No, Scruggs. I wouldn't want to protect Coleridge either. Trading Demo was the worst thing we did. I put the blame on Dan. If we just played him 20% more, would not have been a conversation. I put the blame on Dan, but I can't. I was gonna say I put the blame on whoever let Osama bin Johnson out of the building. You weren't going to stop him from being a head coach. You couldn't stop him from being a head coach. And he obviously wanted to be in Chicago. That's why he was Osama bin Johnson. But so, yes, that is solely and squarely on Dan. I've said that the entire time. Dan was up there capping. Dan was being a capologist. He was sitting in his house in captivity at the Capitol. And he was capping. Hey, man. Yeah, man. I want to get Monty the ball more, man. I'd like to see that happen, man. Okay. Now you're the offensive coordinator. Now you're the play caller. Get him the ball more. Yeah, man, I'm going to get Monty the ball less, man. I can't trust you. You just said when you didn't have the play calling responsibilities, about the player, the dude that was calling the plays, he kind of messing up. I don't really like that. We got to get Monty the football. Then you take over and you don't get Monty the football. You actually get him the football less. That's crazy. So, yes, that's on Dan. Fast as AF after the fact. No, I don't want no Scruggs. A Scruggs is a guard that can't get no love from me. Benedict Johnson, that's not the one I use. I put the blame on Gibbs' money. He's going to get paid. I don't even put the blame on Gibbs' money. It's not even on Gibbs' money. If you're if you are gonna diminish Monty's role, and it looked like on purpose, that doesn't make sense. Now, here's the thing that I don't want to see. I don't want to see you pay Gibbs $20+ million and think because you're paying Gibbs $20+ million that he needs to be on 3rd and 1 in an I formation with a fullback in front of him. No. That's why you have short yardage backs. That's why you brought in Isaiah Pacheco. Let him get 1 yard on 3rd and 1. Since you won't use a tight end for the push tush, since you won't get a tight end for the tush push, and you don't have a quarterback, I mean, you got Malik Cunningham, shout out Malik, right? Who's about as thin as olive oil or Pippi Longstockings. Shout out if you know, you know. Use the hashtag. He's not going to be a tush push merchant. So you're going to turn around and hand the ball off, which I hate on 3rd and 4th and 1. I hate turning it around, turning my back to the offensive line and handing the football off. So Dan had Barry fever with Gibbs. He couldn't resist the home run fever. I don't even like to mention the word Barry Sanders when I'm talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't like doing that. I really don't. They're not the same. Barry's an alien. Jahmyr Gibbs is from Earth. Facts. You spitting facts on Gibbs in 4th and 1. Yeah, that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. He's not a power back. He's not a bruiser. Just put in the ones that are. All right. So the trade grade was an A-. I'll give the trade grade an A+, but I would say that the move in and of itself was closer to a C. I think that Brad Holmes made the best he could out of a bad situation. And I really do believe that the situation was created by Dan Campbell. Now, do I know that there were not behind-the-scene conversations between Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs? Because Jahmyr Gibbs is Brad Holmes' prize pick. That's his prized possession. Right? Once he got Jahmyr Gibbs and Jahmyr Gibbs took off and did what he did, and everyone called him crazy for drafting a running back at 12, that was what allowed him to put things in people's faces. That's what allowed him to get arrogant. So, could there have been conversations? I don't know. I don't want to put that out there and act like I have knowledge about their behind the doors conversations, because I don't. But all I know, Votto, all I know, Demo got hit by this guy. Yo. Looked like his playing time got hit by a Tahoe. Right? They cut that joint in half. You know? So somebody was responsible for not putting Demo on the field, and that's got to fall on Dan Campbell. So I'm going to say the move in and of itself, and then taking into account what you got back, was a C. Monty should be a feature back. So it was probably all were in agreement that it was time to go. And what I love about the new Lions is they take the player's career and future in consideration in the process. Yeah. Brad Holmes did all this substandard BS to make Lions the underdogs. It was a sneaky good move because Lions play best as underdogs, according to BH. Maybe that was the plan all along. We just don't see the vision. We're not visionaries like Brad Holmes. It's not about the player comparison. It's about Dan hoping to take it to the house. Demo really complimented Gibbs so well. We had something generational with the pair. We did. And then once Osama bin Johnson left, it was like nobody could figure it out. It was 51-49 Demo. And then when Demo went down, Gibbs took over. And then they came back the next year and it was 70-30 to Gibbs. So bottom line, there was no need to use your power back. Yeah, I know he didn't like to be called a power back less. With as poor as our line was, we probably should have used him more. Those are facts. Those are facts. The entire situation was a mismanagement. Definitely a mismanagement. All right, there's not a whole lot that we can it's not a whole lot of time I'm willing to spend on this next one. Wide receiver Khalif, kick returner Khalif Raymond signed with the Bears, grade C-. Raymond takes his all-pro return skills to a division rival on a one-year deal, reunited with former OC Osama bin Johnson in Chicago. Losing a culture setter to a division rival stings. I mean, you know, whatever. I mean, the fact that he went to the Bears is annoying. You know? So we've got that much. All right. Alex Anzalone signed with the Buccaneers. Yeah, Osama bin Johnson. We give that a C. Another massive cultural loss. Anzalone penned a heartfelt farewell to the city. Holmes opted for youth and cheaper options at linebacker, but replacing his leadership in the middle of the defense will be a heavy lift. I am going to give this an F. And the reason I'm giving it an F is not really because of Alex Anzalone. It's, again, the whole mismanagement of the situation. You signed Derek Barnes to an extension. I mean, how many people are going to tell you Derek Barnes is better than Alex Anzalone? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you that. Then you picked up Damone Clark. Then you re-signed Alex Malcolm Rodriguez. I mean, you did that before the Damone Clark thing. So now we're left scratching our heads until training camp, until the season. I mean, maybe just until draft to understand what they're going to do in the scheme. Are you going to honestly trot out Malcolm Rodriguez as your starter in a 3 linebacker set? You're going to have Jack Campbell, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Derek Barnes. I understand that you have belief in Malcolm Rodriguez. He's not good in coverage. Who's going to be your cover backer? That was Alex Anzalone's job. Now, he did get cooked against Kenneth Gainwell in the Steelers game and let him catch that crazy joint off his hands that didn't hit the ground. But, I mean, he was down there in position. I give that an F because the linebacker room got significantly worse with Alex Anzalone's departure. You could have made it an A by doing different things. But you started the F last season when you extended Derek Barnes and gave him more money than what you were willing to give Alex Anzalone. Am I too hard on Derek Barnes? Do I just not see it? Is it still lingering for me, that safety in Dallas that he completely whiffed on? Is that still lingering? Derek Barnes is billed as a pass rusher and don't rush the passer for nothing. He's got 4 sacks in his career. He's averaging a sack a year. So I give that one an F. It will be interesting to see how Ben uses Raymond over there. I mean, I don't think he's going to have too much of a different role than what he had here. Age matters and money. True. I still say we overpaid for Barnes. Does anybody know what it is he does? I'm sorry. You unlock this one.
What would you say you do here?
We had to go with that one. What would you say you do here? What up, the Lions Live 365? Our DC will say Barnes over Alex. Lions, hey, if you want to come on the show, man, whenever, since we're on hiatus, you want to come on the show, man, we ain't got nothing to talk about. We're going to continue this one tomorrow if you want to come on the show. Let's see. Our DC will say Barnes over Alex for sure. Alex Anzalone did have a down year than the 2 years before. Less big plays for sure. I'm not going to disagree that Alex Anzalone was on the tail end of what it is he did here. However, what would you say you do here? I feel like you started the mismanagement of the linebacker situation with the Derek Barnes contract. I don't understand it. And then, of course, if you've got to have this scheme, if you're going to continue with this, I'm not confident in Jack Campbell and dudes. Right? I'm confident in Jack Campbell, but I'm not confident in dudes. Right? To hold it down. You know, I'm just not. And then if you get if one of those guys get injured, then what are we doing? You know, if one of those guys gets injured, instead of switching to a nickel scheme, you'll throw in a practice squad player that practices football professionally. What are we talking about? We're talking about practice. You'll throw in a practice squad player instead of just adjusting your scheme to run more nickel. So this is the problem. They're asking him to do too much. Derek Barnes. Yeah, they're asking him to cover and all that other stuff. Do you have to? Do you have to let it linger? You know I've been such a fool for you. You've got me wrapped around your finger. Y'all didn't know that I knew. You didn't know. Do you have to? Do you have to let it linger? You know what I'm saying? You know, I went to a mixed high school. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't, you know, it wasn't all the black fellas. It was multicultural. You know what I'm saying? I know some things about some things. And I would fall into the sky. You know what I'm saying? I would walk 1,000 miles if I could just see you. Cause I miss you. Making my way downtown, walking fast. Barnes did not stick out last year. He's not much of a lane filler. Alex think he was Lions Ray Lewis. LOL. I get the fact that Alex wasn't the bee's knees, but I think he was more solid than the options that we have right now. I just don't have confidence in Malcolm Rodriguez as the full-time starter. There was a reason that he got surpassed. Like he was a starter coming out of, training camp, Hard Knocks, and all this stuff. And Shep didn't want to start a effing rookie, a 6th-round rookie, but he did everything right. Well, he didn't keep that job. Now we're putting him back in. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Oh, yeah. Look at me. I could be center field. This scheme is trash bag. It is. It's booty butt cheeks. Booty butt cheeks. Rump. Honestly, I don't know what Barnes does that Rodrigo couldn't do. And there you go with the reason I don't really have faith in this linebacking core like that. DC Steppert is still around, question mark, in my view. Yes. Yes, that's a head scratcher. Especially with the names that were out there. Iverson played running back. Cranberries. The cranberries part I get. The Iverson played running back part I don't get. Because he was a quarterback. Jameis Winston put Barnes on a highlight reel forever. He did. He juked him out of his shoes. I stay Gucci down to the socks. Rings and rocks filled with rocks. Black and ugly as ever. However, I stay Gucci down to the socks. Rings and watch filled with rocks. I'm sorry, I didn't do it right. Oh, baby. Oh, black and ugly as ever. However, I stay Gucci down to the socks. Rings and watch filled with rocks. That's a great impression of Shep singing the Barnes. Force them to run nickel. Bro, I wish we could force them to run nickel. I wish we could. But you might have to go out there and Tanya Harden some folks. You know what I'm saying? I don't condone or promote violence. I'm just saying. You might want to give Tanya Harden a call. For those of you that want to force him to run nickel, that's the only forcing that's happening. Hashtag if you know, you know. Can't run a 4-3 with 2 linebackers, LOL. No, they're just going to bring somebody up from the vet squad. Vet squad. His ability to run the defense is still the question. It is. All right. Bro, you have me over here dialing. All right, we're going to do one last one. And then tomorrow we'll continue because we just did the departures. So the last departure that we have here is Graham Glasgow released. The grade was a B. I'm going to give that an A. I'm going to give that an A+. Following Frank Ragnow's failed post-retirement return, Glasgow struggled in his move to center. It was a necessary move to reset the interior offensive line. So we'll start off talking about that tomorrow. Because obviously you have the Cade Mays situation. Graham Glasgow was butt cheeks, right? He was butt cheeks. He was a guy that didn't really want to play center. He's a guy that shouldn't have played center. It was a colossal failure by Brad Breadcrumbs Holmes, who didn't do it right. He just didn't, So that was that. And yeah, and there's really not too much to say. I mean, Graham Glasgow's release was an A+. You had to get better there. You had to get him off your team. He's aging. I don't know. He might go back to Denver, whatever the case. He might retire. Who knows? But he wasn't going to help you moving forward. A+++. Bruh was a trash bag. I feel you. All Barnes does is walk around Melvin's office on all fours in a full gimp suit. Damn, that's crazy. I think Mr. Detroit City watched a little bit too much Pulp Fiction in his time. Just a little bit too much. Just a little bit. Graham being released, A++. While Shep enjoys. Hey, yo. Pause. That's it for show. Salute. Bye. The glass finally broke. Glasgow was about as effective as a traffic cone. Those are facts. He said, go sell insurance. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, and golf is as mobile as a traffic cone too. Golf's sneaky athletic. Mobile golf. Bro, your references and antics always have me rolling. I do what I can. All right, Glasgow looked like the guy in Denver the last 2 years. Yeah. Big Kahuna Burger. Why do we want to insult traffic cones? I feel you. All right. So let me do this. Mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Snick, mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. Do y'all know, and I'm sure some of you know that there is a reference in my mailbag introduction. Snick, mailbag. Where's that from? Does anybody know? I know Mr. Morale knows where it's from. For sure. But he's not here. Once again, y'all gotta get Mr. Morale in here, man. We gotta get him in here, man, because he's like my anger translator. Let me see here. Separate. Boom, boom, boom. Separate. It's what we gonna do. Separate. Speaking of cones, Scott Van Pelt is straight cone. Turkey? No. Nope. It's not cops. Nope. It's not cops. It was something, the guys were playing cops, but it's not cops. The song in and of itself is cops, yes, but that's not the reference. Brad has everyone guessing besides the drive, what will be his next move? I don't know. I hope it's something. It's from Bad Boys. Tactical, I knew you knew it. It's from Bad Boys for sure. Because Martin didn't know the words. That's why it was like stick, mailbag. What is the weather like in Australia? Brother, I don't know. The last 2 days it's been in the 80s. Then at the end of this week, it's supposed to dip down into like the 50s. Right? The low 50s, high 40s. It's temperamental. That's all I can say. It's temperamental. What up, Dolamico Cardenas? Bad Boys. When Martin was trying to sing the Bad Boy song. Facts. Mailbag. What cruise lines sail Australia? I don't know. Carnival, maybe. I've never been on a cruise. I'm just not that type of person, bro. You know the scariest sight ever would be to be in the middle of the ocean at night. It would be like if you were in the middle of the ocean with the daytime, that would be scary enough. But at night, when there's no lights and everything is black, the water is black, the sky is black, bro. You don't know what's up and down. You don't know what's left and right. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. Now, that's not to say I've never been on a boat before. I'm just saying that's something that just popped in my mind. It would be terrible to be doing that. Like if you got stuck in the middle of the ocean at any time, it would suck. But at nighttime, bruh. Sometimes I drive by the beach here at night and I look out and I'm like, bruh, Couldn't be me. Could not be me. It was 96 here in El Paso yesterday. Well, I mean, it is March. It's after the 21st, so y'all are in spring. So y'all are headed towards summer. I'm headed towards winter, right? It's supposed to be fall here. Same crazy weather here. You ain't missing. I don't think it changes like it changes here. Like I said, they pride themselves here in Melbourne for having 4 seasons in a day. It does. It'll go from hot to cold real quick. I've seen the most famous day that I can remember. It went from about 95 degrees in the daytime to about 55 at night. Like that was the swing. So it was about a 40-degree swing. Great weather in Florida. I know. He said, Google it. As part of the engagement. 70s and 80s this week. I don't even like 70s and 80s. Like I'm a cold weather person. I really don't like heat at all. Burning fat doinks in the middle of the ocean is next level peaceful. Yeah, if you were in the water, I don't know how peaceful you would be. Cruising the streets, 7 o'clock on the dot. I'm in my drop top, cruising the streets. Yeah, I got a real pretty little thing that's waiting for me. That's my joint right there. Nothing but a great breeze. Shit. Hashtag if you know, you know. Use the hashtag. Bro, I was on a cruise and you can't see this at night. Nah, bro. Nothing. If them lights ain't on, can't see those giant waves coming. Can't see a damn thing, bro. That's terrifying. Beasts are in the sea. Yeah. They're called sharks and whales and killer whales. And you know it's sharks out here in Australia. So, anything that can kill you is here. They got 97% of the world's poisonous animals. Whether that be insects, whether that be whatever it is, they out here. The ship is so lit up, you can see the water. It's cool. Took my kids on a Christmas cruise 2 years ago. I think I would just be, thinking about the Titanic. What is going on outside my door? Oh, okay. I think my table is here. Finally. Bro ordered a coffee table and like all right. I've seen 70 at noon and 20 degrees by 5 p.m. South Texas with Blue Northern. Was that in the desert? Because the desert gets crazy. Bro, I'm all behind. Did not know you weren't in the D, or maybe I misunderstood. No, I've been just leaving it at the door. I think that's my table. Is that the table? Or is that something else? It's something. Go grab it. Yeah, I've been in Australia for like 3 years, but I've been traveling the globe, man, for the last 20. Kangaroos kick your ass. Only if you provoke them. Only if you provoke them. Hell nah, Don P. All this time, I always thought the Australia references were a joke. So you really live in Melbourne, Australia? Yeah. My kids are here. Prior to this, I was living in Qatar, and I was living in Malaysia, and I was living in Turkey. You know what I mean? Like your boy, I get around. Round and round, round we go. I get around. You know, that's why when I stream the games in the early part of the season, I hate 1 p.m. games because it's 3 a.m. here. So, you know, oi. Titanic makes no sense. Well, it's still killing people. Or Corpus Christi? Corpus Christi. The first cruise I went on was to Jamaica. Had a shot of 150 proof rum. Had me drunk in 5 minutes for about 5 minutes. That's crazy. How do you get drunk for 5 minutes? Wrap it up, B. You have so many questions. Well, we're gonna have to ask them tomorrow because I am about to get out of here. But keep, put a pin in it, and I'll definitely answer your questions tomorrow. Yeah, my life is a movie, bro. You know, sometimes it's a horror movie, sometimes it's a fantasy. Sometimes you want to see, but it's just a fan in me. I also used to be a poet. So, you know what I mean? Spit game, like, you know what I mean? Spit game a little bit crazy. Yeah. You can smell the weed as soon as you got off the boat. Damn. They probably be like, yo, Bumbleclad, light the forest on fire. Boyaka. Road boy. Light the forest on fire, you know? You check? Them call me Beastmaster. Peace out, MCDP. Peace out, y'all. All right. Once again, the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your lines, news, pragmatic. Bumbleclad, boyaka. Everything Irie. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. I will be back tomorrow. We will continue going over the grades for free agency unless there is some actual news that happens. But we'll go ahead and do that tomorrow. All right, y'all. I'm out. Peace.